And as you know, hundreds more cases in Victoria today, but a glimmer, a sign, perhaps, that we could be at the worst of where this is. Now, there's ifs, buts and maybes, but that's what they were saying today in Melbourne, that today could be the peak of how bad things get.
Today should be the peak. Now, I'm not going to sit back and say today's the peak. We have to see what happens in coming days. But driving that effective reproduction number down below 1 is the thing that will start to see numbers drop. And as numbers drop, outbreaks drop.
Now, remember, we talked about this months and months ago when we were doing virtually the whole show about coronavirus, and I promise you've had a lot of it in the past 24 hours. This is the main chat about it that's happening right now, OK? We're not going to wallow in it for 2 hours. Lots of other things to get to, including looking forward to talking to Jacinta Price, big issues happening in regional and remote Australia, Richo, Rowan Dean, OK? Big show ahead tonight. But what's really important is that when we moved from the curve and flattening the curve, it was the effective retransmission rate. That was the number that National Cabinet was looking at to work out whether we could, well, frankly, go back out and do things. If that effective retransmission rate stays below 1, it means for every person who has the virus, less than 1 person will get the virus from that person. Clearly, when that number's above 1, that becomes one hell of a problem because 1 will infect another, and that's how you get the massive run. That's why they're starting to say that this could be the peak. Will there be more deaths? Absolutely. Will there be hundreds more cases? Bloody oath. But are we at the darkest of days? And as they say in some of those superhero movies, it's always darkest before the dawn. I hope so. There will be plenty of others that will be praying as well, especially those that are in and around aged care. But what about the Premier today suggesting that if certain people keep going back to work when they are crook, if people keep going back to work when they have had a test and they are waiting to know whether they are positive or negative, they may shut down the entire industries to make sure that those people don't go back to work. It's big stuff. It could be the next economic shock. So while things may well have hit their peak on the virus side, the economic side could be about to get even worse. Patrick Murrell with the details from Melbourne.
Victoria's coronavirus case numbers are supposed to be coming down. Instead, they're at record levels.
There are 8,696 coronavirus cases in Victoria. That's 532 new.
With that unprecedented increase comes more tragedy. A further 6 deaths, the youngest a man in his 50s, the others 5 elderly residents linked to aged care. 245 Victorians are in hospital, 44 of those fighting for life in ICU. The pandemic now taking its toll on the healthcare system, with more than 400 workers in isolation after testing positive to COVID-19.